All right, business analyst Bode Ososami joins us now to comment on the speech of the Vice President. Hello, Bode. Nice having you. Bode is a business correspondent in London. What were your main takeaways from the speech of the Vice President, Bode?
Well, Christian, indeed, it was a speech that was well received at the World Economic Forum. The first thing I observe is that the world is a global village. We are connected, but globalization does not guarantee cooperation that ensures prosperity for all. Rather, 2/5 of the economies in sub-Saharan Africa will still be below their 2019 per capita GDP levels by 2023, while the rest of the world is moving forward. So globalization does not guarantee equity. Oftentimes, inequity is the outcome without additional interventions. The other thing that I took from his contribution was that Africa faces a serious threat of terrorism, and this requires more robust support from countries more experienced and armed to clear this type of plague from Africa. And assisting Africa should be an imperative, especially for the developed countries in this area. The other thing that came out was the need for self-sufficiency in many dimensions, especially the health dimensions. We are in an era where most of the advanced countries are now talking about reshoring, ensuring that they are able to meet their needs, and Africa needs to do likewise. Vaccine production immediately comes to mind. You wouldn't believe it. In Africa's most populous countries like Nigeria, Ethiopia, Democratic Republic of Congo, only about 2% or less of the population have been fully vaccinated. So beyond just vaccines, we also need to have a vision of self-sufficiency in items that are strategic to us. For example, refining all our oil, production of computer chips, not tomorrow, but we need to have a vision to be able to produce our own computer chips, because someday that could be the thing that will be critical, especially in this digital world. The VP also called for more lending support, debt relief, adequate to tackle the fiscal difficulties Africa is already facing. All I have to say as a comment is that at this point in time, the West is especially preoccupied with its own issues, getting back on its feet after being knocked down in the last 2 years. I don't think they are going to have the capacity, even if they have the well-meaning intentions to support Africa. Africa will probably need to look more inwards. That would be my view. But having a strong voice in international dialogue, I think, is also important. We can't be an appendix on key issues like climate change and global taxation. Our voice on the table definitely needs to be more clearly heard and respected.
Of course, Bode, the WEF boss did praise the Vice President's intervention or contribution at that meeting. Well, let's talk about this optimism on Africa's economic trajectory. Well, despite the divergence in recovery when compared to developed countries, of course, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a lot of reason to remain bullish about Africa. Our success at overcoming COVID, I think, means we can overcome challenges with minimal external support if we can align around the issues. And indeed, every area that we call huge gaps could also be opportunities. But like everyone has rightly recognized, Africa's potential remains undiminished. It has the world's fastest growing working age population, and the prospect of rapid economic and social change is a huge advantage waiting to be tapped. We are the last frontier for strong growth, and we've seen the era of the Asian tigers. I think the world is waiting for the African Renaissance and the rise of the African tigers. It's gradually happening. We heard about 6 unicorns emerging in Nigeria, all in a pandemic. Imagine what would happen if things were normal. But potential is one thing. It still needs to be realized. And levers like the Africa Free Trade Pact are all slowly falling into place. Others say the momentum is just too slow.
All right. Well, the momentum is being kept up by Nigeria's Vice President, particularly when he spoke about improvements in the business climate and the need for more support with fighting terrorism?
Well, business climate and security are linked. Indeed, if there is no peace and security, enterprise will be limited. The only thing I would say with fighting terrorism now is a very high-tech issue. They're using artificial intelligence, new surveillance methods, recognition techniques, smart cities technologies, so that troubles can be spotted. Somebody who's arrived in the city will be caught on camera few hours after he's in. There's a lot of intelligence being linked to global databases. So it's not like it used to be. And I think we need to also up our act in Africa. Of course, we're going to need support. Business climate improvement is a war. Every country is looking for investment. In the last 2 years, there was a flood of cheap capital. Rates are now going up. It's not going to be as cheap. So it means the war is going to toughen up. So that just means we need to listen more to investors, find out what they want, make necessary adjustments. It just can't be business as usual, but we are beginning to do these things. It's just that many say the momentum is not as much as it needs to be. And other countries, a lot of our peers are actually moving faster. Technology and digitalization of processes is 80% of easing doing business. And if you just focus on this, there could be a quick win if you can just move quickly with it.
Absolutely, I do agree with you totally. But what did Africa learn in the last 2 years, and how will this, learnings benefit the continent? The Vice President did allude to the fact that some lessons have been learned.
Well, he said we are better equipped and prepared for change. We've learned the importance of technology infrastructure, being more accountable, health, the importance of international cooperation. But Ngozi, executing, sponsoring, and navigating change is different from learning, diagnosing issues, or even planning. So execution is the thing, and we have learned a lot, but are we going to execute what we've learned? Experts who study change talk about a change curve, which means even when you are doing the right things, you go through an initial dip as change is resisted. And that is when leadership and courage is needed to stay the course. Our solutions, of course, must tap our local wealth of resources and capabilities. We can learn from US, China, Europe, but we know that in the end, we still have to come back to what Nigerians are able to do. But listening to the VP talk about gas as a transition fuel, it also makes it clear that different countries have different perspectives. So the African perspective has to be heard. It can be different from the Western context. That's okay. But if the West don't hear the African perspective, they tend to think everything works for everyone. We just need leaders, in my view, that can move us forward, that are focused on execution. I think that's where that's what the major challenge is now. And the reform can be painful, but certainly you need courage and discipline to get to where you want to go.
It does, absolutely. Execution, execution, execution. That's the word. Bode Ososami, Arise business analyst, joining us from London. Thank you very much.